Turn your mics on, please. Turn your mics on, please. All right, the Smithfield Zoning Board of Review for May 7th is called to order. Tonight, we have with us Brian Thalman, member, Peter Cunham, no, sorry, Linda Marcello, Frank Smith, Ed Savito, Sharon Gilmore is our secretary, David DeSilla was our solicitor, and Stephanie Pichette is our stenographer. Sharon, could you read off the evacuation notices, please?
Sure. In case of an emergency, there are two main exits out of the chambers. The first is to the left side of the stage, up the stairs, through the doorway, and down the stairway out the back of the side of the town hall. And the second is out the back of the chambers to the exit doorway to the stairway out the front of the town hall. The men's facilities are through the back of the chambers, past the stairway, around the corner on the right. And the ladies' facilities are through the back door of the chamber, straight up the stairs, and on the left. Please do not use the elevator in times of emergency.
Okay. Members, have you had a chance to read the last month's meeting notes?
Yes.
If so, can I get a motion, please?
Make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None.
Abstain.
Abstained, yeah. Okay, Sharon, can you please give us the zoning case for tonight?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, in the interest of a fair amount of people being here tonight, do we want to make a announcement regarding 25008 and the communication we received from the applicant?
We could do that. Sharon, you want to read that, please?
Yes, I received an email from Jonathan Zeno, and it states, "To whom it may concern, I am requesting a continuance to the hearing for application 25-008 due to a personal matter, attendance at a wake. Please confirm this receipt of the email," which was done. And thank you, Jonathan Zeno.
So members, if we can, they're asking for a continuance. They did not give us a date. Well, I would recommend at this point that we consider a continuance until the next meeting.
So moved.
June 4th, 2025. So Brian moved to continue it to 6/4.
Okay? Can we-
Second.
Okay, motion, we got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good.
why don't you make an announcement for anybody who's here?
Okay, anybody who was here that was for the Jonathan H. Zeno Living Trust, they have requested a continuance for their meeting for 6 Ridgeland Road due to a death in the family. So at this time, we are going to give them a continuance until next month. Okay. Next case, please.
Okay. 25-006, Nicole M. Lepore as applicant, and J. Theodore Ray Living Trust as owner of property located at 292 Waterman Avenue, listed as Plat 26, Lot 27. Seek a special use permit under Section 4.3.d.6 and 4.4.d.6, public and semi-public uses daycare center, to operate a daycare center in an R20 district.
Do you have anybody here that's representing the company?
I'm representing the seller. That's me. That's all.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Paul Harrison. I'm a Realtor with the Martone Group in Smithfield.
Okay. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. Go ahead and tell us what you plan on doing.
We have young ladies here that would like to open a daycare at our facility now, at our location on 292 Waterman Avenue.
Okay.
And they want to open a daycare.
Okay, so you're selling the property to them? That's
No, we're leasing the property out.
leasing to them? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, then we should have somebody come up who's going to take over the property then. Please state your name and address, please. Can you lower that mic down so we can hear you good?
Nicole Lepore.
Okay,
The address is 292 Waterman Ave.
okay. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, so tell us what you're planning on doing.
So we would like to open up a daycare facility with 5 classrooms and a playground.
Okay. Do you, can you tell us like how many students you are planning on putting? We didn't get any of that information.
72.
How many?
Would be licensed to 72.
72. Okay. And what would your hours of operations be?
It would be, I believe, 7 to 5.
7 to 5. Is that just Monday through Friday?
Yep, that's it. Monday through Friday.
Now, I know the property well, because you live right around the corner from it. Are you planning on putting in a playfield somewhere there?
Yes. So if you pull in and you're looking at the building, which would make more sense would be to put it to the left side, so then the parents could come off the street onto, is it Bruno? And then pull in the back, and then there'd be parking spots to do drop off.
Okay, so you're gonna put a playground if you're facing it from Waterman Avenue, the playground would be on the left-hand
Yeah.
side, and that'll all be all fenced in?
Yes.
Okay.
I do have some questions. So this is going to be a commercial daycare, correct? What I mean by commercial, it's not a home daycare.
No, it's not a
You got
home.
72 kids?
Yeah.
Now-
Licensed by DCYA.
All right. Now, are you licensed by the state of Rhode Island to operate this daycare?
It would be through DCYF, the licensing we would go through.
Okay. Second question. Has this gone to the fire marshal for any type of review?
It has not yet.
Okay. Now, you realize that these daycares, the renovation on the inside of all these daycares, you realize that the bathrooms have to be done for children?
Yes. I had a contractor come in and look at everything and give us a quote on all the work that needed to be done.
No, the only thing I'm saying that DCYF has very, very stringent
I had them come in too.
regulations, and, you know, when I see all of this, you know, and I was a little confused. What was, I mean, we got these two.
Yeah, that one, there's a new one, that one was an old one.
This is the new one? So now let's get to the inside, you know, it's gotta go for fire marshal, DCYF, for exits, exit signs, and all that. Now let's get to the play area. The play area, is it gonna be grass, or is it gonna be that turf?
Yeah,
that they use?
or it could be mulch, it doesn't have to be, it could be mulch.
Well, there's a certain kind of mulch that goes
You
with
can
the
use
turf.
regular mulch or plastic mulch.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So predicated on all of this, basically, it's gotta go through fire marshal first, actually DCYF first,
Yep, which
Fire-
is, I have done that.
fire marshal, and then the building official. His review. Just for clarification.
What did DCYF, you already have a license from DCYF?
No, DCYF came to look at the building and go through, and I gave her the plans and everything and filled out the application.
So
But
that's
you are,
pending.
but you are licensed as a daycare provider.
Yes.
And you know you have to submit all of that to the building official. All your certification.
No, so as the owners, we don't, as long as we have a director. A director
Well,
has to.
whoever that is, that information is gonna be provided to the building official, okay? Just for clarification, because I know that there's a lot that goes into
Yeah.
a commercial daycare. Okay?
And Nicole, I just have a question. I know that you have the designated areas for the parking and the playground, but how is the flow of traffic going to work, like for drop-off and all of that? Will there be
On
a
Waterman, you
drop-off?
take that left on Bruno and then go in the back that way.
So, like, the playground's on the side there of Bruno, so you would go down that road and come in the back?
The playground would be on the other side. So
Okay.
if you're looking at the building, those parking spots, and then you go down Bruno and then take a left into the parking lot, that would be all parking spaces and easy for drop-off and pickup.
What road? Okay,
Yeah, I'm a little confused, because
so,
I'm looking at this.
So if you're
This
on
is right
Waterman, and the building is on
Yes.
the left, and you're looking at the building, there's parking spots right here,
Yeah.
so that would be the playground.
yeah,
But if
that's
you-
Pleasant Avenue, Rules the other side.
Oh,
Okay,
sorry.
so it is,
Sorry.
all right, so you're coming in through this way?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you're not on the other side,
Yeah,
you'll be around
sorry.
here. Now, will you be dropping off, is there a drop-off in the back, is there an entry
No,
from the back?
no, so they'll just
Oh, so the drop in the-
park and then just.
Okay,
yeah.
and then, I know it's a
Yeah.
big parking lot,
Yeah.
but, okay.
So they're gonna have to walk around the left side of the building, I'd say if you're from the back parking spot.
Yeah, because there'll be parking spots.
I printed it out, so they're gonna have to park here, then walk around this side of the building and come in the front?
Nope, they can come where like the playground would be. They don't
Okay.
have to go like on
Will
the
there be a
street.
gate there on both sides, or?
Yes. Because the playground will be.
Okay, can you just clarify, you're entering from Pleasant, or you're entering from Waterman, exiting onto Pleasant?
Bruno, you mean?
No, this, you only have this area here. Pleasant is where it has it.
Yeah.
Well, they're gonna come
That's
in
Pleasant.
this way.
Yeah,
So where the restaurant is, the Chinese restaurant?
Correct, you have to come in, you have to come in out by Pleasant Avenue.
yeah,
You can't come in from Waterman Avenue unless you want to drive over the curb.
yeah.
Well, there is an entrance and exit on Waterman.
So let's just for everyone to make sure with the call reporter, we have to go one at a time. And we don't have much this board doesn't have much in front of them in terms of plans. So as you talk, like looking at the building, let's make sure we keep it oriented. Like looking at the building left, looking at the building from Waterman Ave right, to make sure we understand the flow of traffic, because I have to kind of keep track of what's being said also. Can you just describe the flow of traffic again, oriented from being in the street on Waterman Ave, looking at the building?
So being on the street, looking at the building to the right, and then going down that road, and then pulling in the parking lot.
So it'll go down Pleasant Avenue.
Yes,
And pull into the back of the parking lot,
correct,
the back parking lot.
And they exit out Pleasant Avenue also.
correct.
And there'll be no entrance or exit or egress or ingress on Waterman Avenue,
No,
even though there's openings there.
So there is a door then? in
there is the
back?
door, yeah,
And in the back or on the
Yep.
side?
on
It's
the
in
side and then in the front.
So when you say
They can
side,
still
it's
use the
Pleasant
front
Ave-
entrance,
Okay,
the
so
doors, it's just they're not gonna be coming.
Is this what you were submitted? Is that accurate, door? So if they come in the side door, they're entering classroom 4?
But they were gonna come through the front door, that's just an emergency exit.
Okay.
So they're just, okay.
They are still gonna come through
So
the
the
front.
intent for you is that they're going to be coming through the playground? Okay.
There'll still be like a path, like the whole thing isn't the
Okay.
playground.
Okay.
Excuse me, Kevin, did they submit a site plan at all? Well, I know, I'm actually saying a site plan with, no?
Ed, are you in,
I got it.
are you and Linda, are you guys done? 'Cause it's a lot. But I'll let you finish
No,
up.
no, set,
Nicole, first off, welcome. I think this has some potential merit, but I think we're very early in the process, and I think we've got some hurdles that we need to overcome to get to that point. Whenever an applicant submits a special use permit request to this board, Section 10.9 of our ordinance requires the submission of a site plan. That site plan needs to have very specific content, but also needs to be prepared by either a registered land surveyor, a registered professional engineer, or professional architect. We don't have that information right now. And given what you're bringing before us, I think it would greatly assist us in our decision-making process to have competent information to which to weigh our decision upon. The other aspect of this, and I'll get into some of the questions, your most populated shift during your operational hours, how many staff will be in the facility?
So there's 2 for each classroom,
So with 5 classrooms, that would be 10,
and then a director.
11. So the ordinance has parking requirements that are basically the minimum necessary. In our ordinance, it's calculated on the amount of interior space. And I'm going to use that term because I'm going to get into something related to that. So what we've been provided in the staff report is that you only need 8 spaces. You already are at 11 with staff, and we do not need any accommodation for drop-off and pickup of students or pupils. I don't want to use the term students. So I think we're struggling. The other aspect of it is I dug into the regulations that the state has related to daycare facilities. And you've kind of offered that you'll be licensed for 72 students. So DCYF has a requirement that your exterior playground must provide 75 square feet of space for each student. So if we take the 72 students, multiply that by 75, we're gonna need a playground that's 5,200 square feet, which is bigger than the building that you have. Now factor in, we've got landscape requirements because you're going to be abutting you're a non-residential use abutting a residential property. So while the property may have been grandfathered up to this point because Duxbury Reinsurance predates when the landscape ordinance came into effect, now there would be a 10-foot buffer, landscape buffer required where you abut residential zones. The environmental affairs officer, town engineer who administers the landscape ordinance has the ability to weigh the factors of the property and the unique characteristics and deviate from that. But I would say we'd be very hard pressed for him to make that determination based on the evidence that's been presented before us. What would be your peak hour of drop-off and pickup?
Probably between 7 and 8,
In the morning, and then how about at night?
and then probably between 4 and 5.
Okay. Will your program be offering after-school daycare? No. Okay, that's a good answer. Because my concern was, we're trying to put a lot of stuff in a small amount of area. And if after-school daycare is provided, we now have to make an accommodation for a bus to get in and out. And I saw that being somewhat problematic. So thank you for that answer. One of the other issues that I have, and I'm gonna, as much as I can, be very generic. The information that's been presented to us tonight identifies the rooms in the facility as classrooms. If I look up under Merriam-Webster what the definition of a classroom, it very much assimilates to education. Immediately next to your facility is a restaurant that serves alcoholic beverages. Alcoholic Beverage Administration in Rhode Island is governed by Department of Business Regulations Liquor Control Board. Wherever there is either an educational facility or a church, the minimum separation is 200 feet, which we would never be able to accommodate. The solicitor and I spent a fair amount of time on the phone this week kind of going through this. He's opined that we probably don't meet the definition of an educational facility, which leads me to where I'm going with this. In Rhode Island, people like myself, who's a registered professional engineer, land surveyors, and architects, are licensed by what is called the Board of Design Professionals. Any non-residential use that involves architecture must be done by a registered architect. The person who prepared these plans likely doesn't qualify under that definition, nor do they likely not possess a certificate of authorization for their firm. I understand that this is very infancy and you are trying to glean as much information as you can at this point to move this process where you can appease DCAYF that this is a reasonable location. I would suggest that we give some serious thought to consider continuing this matter. I think at a minimum, you have to address the site plan because it's not a may or a shall, it's must. And given kind of where we've gone with this and the requirements that you're gonna need as far as what the playground area size is and the size of the lot, I think this board needs some information that will help it to make a decision that can stand the process. The other aspect of this is that those of us who live in Smithfield, or in 2023, there was a horrible accident that occurred at the Apple Valley Mall. As a result of that accident, the town council enacted section 312.37, which is the Vehicle Impact Protection Device law. That will impact your playground because it's an exterior facility where people are going to be within 75 feet of a vehicle. We need to get that addressed as part of the site plan process. The facility or the parcel abuts Waterman Avenue, which is a state highway. And because you're changing the use, you're going to need to secure a physical alteration permit from the Department of Transportation. All of these kind of need to be in motion, and I can tell you right now, the DOT PAP process is gonna take some time. I would also strongly urge you to consider engaging an attorney, because for us to make a decision, we have to be presented certain criteria that satisfy what we need to do to issue a special use permit. We're not gonna impair any of the abutting properties. What you're looking for is unique to the property, it's things along that line. And I think for us to do that at this point may not work in your favor. As I said at the start, I think this has some very good merit. I just don't think we're there yet. And I think aside from all the stuff that I've kind of mentioned, there's the whole ADA compliance factor. And your playground's gonna have to meet it. You're gonna need an accessible route where your parents are gonna have to park in the back, and your staff may have to park in the back, to where they're gonna gain entrance into the building, which is probably the front of the building. That's a pretty lengthy route. ADA requirements are very stringent. So I applaud you for trying to start this process. I think we may be, before this board, you may be a little bit premature at this point, and I think if you can take a step back, pump the brakes, understand you're gonna need to spend some money to get to that point, but I think it will help you down the road.
I just want to say, as a former licensed DCYF foster parent, I know how much this town needs DCYF-approved daycare. So I hope that you're not discouraged by this, and I hope you continue to push forward. And but I do share a lot of the same concerns. I really feel like I need to see a site plan because I am concerned with the playground, where exactly it's going to be, where the parking is going to be. Is there enough parking? So, I need to see feet, inches in front of me, and so like Mr. Thalman was saying, there's a lot more I think we need to see to be able to make a proper decision, but I hope that you're not discouraged. I do hope you push through.
One other question I do have. The pro forma or the business plan that you're gonna have to put together for this facility, in any way, shape, or form, will this be funded through public grants and/or financing?
So we are going through a bank, but I don't know what it's gonna be.
Because the reason being is another recent change in legislation in the state is wherever a commercial facility is funded through public funding, they have to incorporate EV charging stations for electric vehicles, which, again, if you can avoid it, it probably is in your best interest, but I can't speak to, how you are looking to finance this.
Wow.
Did my homework.
Yes, you did. Even EV charging stations? Wow. Does anybody else have any comments?
Can I just add one thing?
Sure.
As it's zoned R20, and there's an office space on it. As you know, and you can see what happened during COVID, what is going on with office space. There's negative absorption rate, not only in the state, but in the country.
Sure.
So I hope that you, at least if you could take that into consideration while you are thinking of this, for this certain application. Not sure if we could, if this doesn't go through, I don't know if we could really ever get an office in there. So what are we faced with the property? And I understand what you're saying, but I kind of just want to let that be known, what we're facing on our end.
We have to understand too, what she's doing is very admirable because we need daycares.
There's a huge need for it, there's no doubt
There's a
about it.
need.
We need DCYF.
There's a big need for these type of daycares. It's just that we need that information. You know, as Brian said, and we work together on other issues and the laws have changed drastically. It was not only with that accident at the mall, it's the way this building is situated. And there may be even more safety features that may have to take place because of where it is. And if a car veers off near this playground, we have a major problem. So they may say that we need bollards to ward off anything happening there. But as far as what she's doing is extremely admirable. And I give her a lot of credit for doing that. But to reiterate what I said at the beginning, without a site plan, that's what starts everything in motion. You know, we can more define the exterior safety of the building, plus the playground, plus the parking, plus the exits. You know, it just, and I think at this juncture, I think if she chooses to table this and get a design professional surveyor to lay this out, because ultimately, if you read the instruction sheet that comes with the zoning application, that's the first thing it says. I mean, it's very hard, and all of us, I feel, we're all in favor of this.
Just need the pieces of the puzzle.
We need to put this whole puzzle together, so that way we can speak intelligently on it, and we can be fair in the code. I like I said, this use is needed. And I know what you're saying, that office building has been there for quite a while in a residential zone.
It's actually a call-out, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's illegal non-conforming in a residential zone. But being that said, I think if you just took some time and outlined all of what Brian has said, it would make a lot easier, because then we can balance things out. It would be a give and take situation. There may be some things that you just cannot do, but there is always a financial end to all of this. You know what I'm saying? There's always a financial end. And sometimes, when people submit plans and a stamp is required, is it expensive? Yes, it is. But it's to get you from point A to point B. So we're able to make a valid decision and to be fair to her too. Because we want her to know what all the state regulations are, even though she knows the end of how to run this. It's just that there are a lot of missing parts that we need to make a decision.
Given the use, I would confirm that too, given the use, it's a daycare for children, and that area is high traffic, and they don't always drive slow there. You're on that road all the time, which I am, and I don't feel comfortable, given what's in front of us as far as the traffic pattern and needing that site plan for that purpose. We're making a decision on a daycare, not on, I don't know, a storage facility where it's gonna be high traffic area, it's little kids. So it's important, I think, overall for yourself as well, like Ed and Brian had said. And for me to feel comfortable, I would need that as well. What ages will the daycare?
Infants to preschool,
Infant to, so does that age till 5 or 4 or?
till they go to kindergarten.
What was the age?
It's infants, it's 6 weeks until they go to kindergarten, 5.
Okay, so will you have, like, facilities on the premises, obviously, for infants, like you'll have, cribs and things like that inside, and obviously the playground area? I would suspect, would you be having do you even know, I don't know if you even thought about that, but will there be types of schedules where so many children will be in the playground at a certain time? It wouldn't be like all,
No.
everybody there at once, but I would imagine you would have certain systems set up so that
It's a full curriculum.
different times of the day, just to get out there.
Yeah, the things to consider too, with your colored diagram, could be means of egress. Like if I was in the break room kitchenette or classroom 4, you got a long way to go to get around and get out. So that could be a concern. Maybe not classroom 4, but if they're in the bathroom, classroom 3 is right up against it. So I'm just gonna say that we need a better of a layout to get there. Yeah, but you did this one. So we just need to have a good plan come forward. I think everything you want to do is very admirable, but when we're asked to give a variance for something, we have to have all the i's dotted and t's crossed, because anything else happens, it all makes us liable also.
Nicole, when you prepare your site plan, one of the things that I'd like you to bring to your, whoever it is that you engage is, we probably need to see the location of a dumpster. As you abut residential properties on both the west side and the south side of the property, we need to be cognizant of their ability to enjoy their property as well. So I think we really want to know, where's this dumpster going to be?
So generally from the board perspective with the applicant, if the applicant is planning on asking to continue this matter for a month or 2 so she could talk to a few people about some of these issues. Looks like there are people from the public
I
here,
think we give them,
so it'd be a good idea to also open the public hearing. You just don't close it. So the applicant can find out if there are any concerns from the public also. That way, if she does continue it, she can begin to incorporate, if she wants to, she doesn't have to, incorporate those type of issues too, or at least be aware of them, as opposed to waiting 2 months, coming with more, and then finally hearing from the public on a concern that actually is new to everybody, and now she's asking for more time.
I think if you can figure that, it's a great location for that need.
I just also want you to be aware that the lot next to you on the Waterman Avenue side, we had granted that previously for a house lot. So the person who came before us can build a house on that lot. Just giving you a heads up ahead of time, okay? All right, which way do you want to go with this? You can ask for continuous, we can keep going, or we can listen to, open to the public and have them give you stuff.
Let's open it to the public
Okay.
first, and then she can make her.
Let's do that. So we're gonna,
Unless you have anybody else to present right now.
okay. Okay, we're going to open this up to the public. Is there anybody here that would like to talk in favor of this application? please come on up. Please state your name and address. Well, state your name and address first, please.
Dennis Sequoia, 3 Arnold Avenue. I'm the budding, Dennis Sequoia. I'm the budding property owner with a playpen
All right.
and playground, I'm sorry, with playground and that will be, that's my property.
Okay, Dennis, raise your hand. You swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Okay.
His address. Your address, sir? 3 Arnold Avenue?
It is right here.
Uh,
Go ahead.
1973. AP 19 lot 73.
Yep. All right, Dennis, tell us.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it, but I want her to know something that area, I'm sorry, where you going to put that flood.
Sir, you got to talk into the mic, so.
The area where you want to put your playground floods terribly because it goes into my backyard. And you're looking at a foot or more of water. Now, it doesn't stay there, obviously, but when it floods, it's there for a few days, and that's where your playground might be. So that's just a heads up for you as you go through this whole process. My initial thought was put the playground in the back where your parking lot's going to be, because that's high and dry. But that's just a comment, because we're not opposed to it. You've got enough hoops to put it through, but that's a battle.
So, Mr. Sequoia, if I can, so part of the process through the town is this would have to go through what is called the town's soil erosion sediment control review board. Site plans and calculations, whatnot, are submitted to the town engineer. This, as I do this every day of my life, I'm intimately aware of kind of what the process is. Whether or not this has to go through the process at DEM, it doesn't appear it may meet the threshold that triggers it. I think what may be kind of the thing that tips the scale, if you will, is there is really no drainage on the site as it exists. Site was developed a long time ago. It predates probably most of what is current stormwater regulations. However, the stormwater program at DEM does get triggered where the runoff is discharged to the waters of the state. So at the entrance that is on Waterman Avenue, there's a catch basin actually in the sidewalk area. That catch basin is connected to the state drainage system. It traverses to the north and then comes down what I refer to as Bruno Lane, and then it outfalls into the Woonasquatucket. So from that standpoint, it potentially triggers it. Now, what is going to be kind of the caveat that ultimately tips the scale, if you will, is how much of the parking area gets impacted by the playground. Because there is a square foot requirement that if you trigger that, then it automatically has to go through the DEM review. So based on what limited information we have right now, I think it's on the cusp. But at a minimum, it has to go through soil erosion review within the town. Potentially, it will have to go through soil erosion review, a stormwater review with DEM. It definitely will have to go through a stormwater review with DOT because it's a change in use. And DOT is gonna wanna see how does our existing curb cut function with how this use is. They'll probably I don't think they're gonna need a full traffic study, but they'll probably need a traffic impact statement. But one of the things they're gonna look at is runoff into the state drainage system.
There's a drain on the other side of the road, too.
Yes.
It floods, it doesn't help very much either.
All those drains are connected, both on the east side of Waterman Avenue and the west side of Waterman Avenue. It comes across, connects into one that's up at the corner, and then it traverses to the west down Bruno Avenue. What I refer to as Bruno Avenue, I think the name may have changed at this point.
Yeah. I just want to make her aware of it, that's all. I don't have any problem with it, but that's gonna be awful.
I can show you, my wife will show you pictures of my backyard. It's just.
May help you.
Yeah, well, that would be the best thing. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, is there anybody here that would like to talk for them? Anybody else? Okay.
Good evening. My name's Ron Manning, live at 1 Sammy Lane, which is on the west side of this property in question.
Ronnie, swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Go ahead.
Okay, my question here is that once they brought up the point of parking, the parking in that lot is apparently, they said they're gonna have 11 employees. That'll pretty much take up that parking lot. I don't know how they would enlarge it. I know that they have a 10-foot border between properties. And from my property line to the edge of their parking lot would cover that border, which they have a group of abovite. On the other side of it, which is my property, I have a row of hemlocks. Obviously, they won't be able to take I was just wondering if they would leave, if they're gonna leave the trees, if they decide to do it. It's gonna be within that border that they would have to give. So I would assume that they would remain. Also, if they have 72 students, and what are the age?
5 to 6 weeks.
6 weeks to 5 years.
The 5 years. Even if a third of the people pick up their children, there's not gonna be anywhere for them to park. And Bruno Avenue, which is Pleasant View Avenue, has been renamed to Bruno. And Sammy Lane is posted no parking. So there's no on-street parking there. That brings up the question of how they're going to, the egress, if they come in from Bruno, and they pull into the back, if they can, pick up their children, then go out. Do they go back out right to Waterman Avenue, or are they gonna go left and go around the block? Now, there are some children that live in the area. Now, if there's a lot of circulation of cars, that's a question. So that's basically my concerns after sitting here and listening to this, is the parking facilities, either on the property or in the neighborhood, ingress and egress, rather than driving entirely around the block, because they would go, if they went out Bruno, took a right, they go to go to Waterman Avenue. If they came out to Bruno, took a left, they go to the left to Bruno, then they would hit a left to Smith Sammy, then they would hit another left to Arnold to go out to Waterman Avenue. So obviously there'd be quite an increase in traffic in that area, and the parking is a big question.
So I think, Mr. Manning, one of the things that or the points that you're driving home are similar to kind of what we've expressed is, there's a lot that has to happen to have a functioning daycare facility. And I think the onus is on the applicant right now to present the information, what can this site reasonably support? And I think when we get to that point, we can then make an informed decision, because as you mentioned, the number of parking spaces needs to support what they're anticipated, and they've got to demonstrate to us that they can make it work. And then it's up to us and the staff to weigh, is this really, does this make sense?
I understand that. Thank you for your time.
Chris, can I ask you a question quickly on the parking? Because the zoning ordinance says a minimum of one space or one space for each 500 square feet of indoor play or instruction space, whichever is greater. So a daycare just needs either one space? Was there like a missing word there? Like one space per something? I mean, I will never be able to know, but it seems odd that a daycare may only need one space. Those attorneys.
Yes, that's, well, you have to interpret it, so that's the way it's said. But
Right.
500, one space per 500 is the.
Right, yeah. Right, because it's always going to be greater than one. Every building's going to have at least, once you have with,
Scenario is like a one, school, they're not taking care of. Not at home, in a commercial zone or whatever. There's probably a scenario where you just got that final space for person across the place.
okay, I see.
But you know, so it's just making sure there was a quiet space.
Because like the next one talks about schools where it just said one space for each, oh, I'm sorry.
Bottom line is the 500, one space per 500 square feet of usable area.
Used to be.
And that's, and even that, I was being conservative.
It's just the,
All the space is not being used for the space.
it just, when I read the other ones within parking, it talks about like one space for each employee, or one space per so many students at a high school. A college has one space for each employee plus, so it seems like the applicant goes off of what it reads. So that's, she has to just go off of what it reads. I can't interject what I think could be there. But it just seemed odd that it said it's one space or 500. It seemed like it was missing a word, but I didn't know if you had any understanding of what it could have been and how it gets analyzed.
Well, I think important to note in that, that's the minimum.
That's,
Their unique circumstances may dictate they need more. And from the testimony that's been presented, clearly the minimum isn't going to be enough even for the staff, let alone some accommodations for what may be the circulation pattern for the drop-off pickup. So
that's why we need a more complete plan for all the parking areas, because, I mean, the original property showed a bunch of parking along the back line, along the back, some in the front, so overall would have some, but the way this thing is coming out, they would need a bunch of that spot just for the playground area, so, yes, we need a much more defined plan.
I think there's someone else that wants to speak.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Please come up. Please state your name and address, please.
Linda Ruggieri, 285 Waterman Avenue.
Okay, would you please raise your hand?
Certainly.
Do you swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so I hope you got it.
I do.
Very good.
I would like to reiterate the positions of my neighbors as well. My concern is two things, the parking and also the safety of the children. I live diagonally across from Duxbury and Ray. And my concern is that there's going to be, I also have a couple of questions. Are the children going to be bussed in, or are they going to be individually dropped off by the parents?
I believe she testified that it's all parent drop-off. There's not going to be any school buses involved. There's no after daycare or before daycare.
Okay, so let's make an assumption, 72 children, that 72 parents are going to be coming between 6:30 and 7 o'clock a.m. And as we've all discussed, the parking lot does not have the capacity for 72 cars to be parked. So it's only fair to assume that those cars are going to be parked on Waterman Avenue. I live on Waterman Avenue, and I think it's very admirable what you're trying to do. I work with children and families with DCF, and however, we certainly don't want to have a situation in which I work in the court system, and I have to be in court in the morning, and I can't have cars and families dropping off children and parking in front of my driveway or our neighbors' driveways when we are trying to go to work or coming home from work. It's also very dangerous. I don't know if you're all aware, but last year, there was a drunk driver who basically hit right in front of Duxbury and Ray, the pole, and then he proceeded to hit the Chinese restaurant. Prior to that, my neighbors, if you're facing my home, it would be to the left. In the afternoon, they were parked on the side of the road, and they were taking their groceries out, and their car was hit, and the vehicle was totaled. So there's two situations as to where are 72 vehicles. If each parent drops their children off, where are they going to put those vehicles, and also the safety of the children. I also have another question, and perhaps it's with the Department of Children and Family Services regulations, but you're going to have 72 children and 10 teachers for supervision with 72 children, and some of these children are going to be infants, which are going to require a significant amount of care, diapers and feeding and so forth. Those are my concerns.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Richard, I think at this juncture, we can all agree.
Hold on, let's just make sure there's nobody else.
Is there anybody else that would like to come up? Favor or against this? Okay, we're going to close the.
No.
Don't leave it open.
No, leave it open, okay. Go ahead.
No, I mean, at this juncture, Richard, I think that we have an incomplete application. I think a lot of our questions would be answered with all the additional information, and getting back to the use of the property, especially in these times where you have a mother and father working.
No doubt about it.
This is a need in every area. It's just that because of this application not being complete, with all the additional information, I think we can make a decision, and there will be give and take on our part and your part. So I think all of Brian's concerns are everything that should have been presented to us. And getting back to what Brian was saying about our design professional, they do the research and they submit to a zoning board or a planning board all the necessary documents because they anticipate the questions that we've asked you. Okay?
Okay, I agree. Our recommendation is that we need a much better laid out plan, more defined.
I guess, we need some concurrence from the applicant.
Yeah.
It would also help you, Nicole, too, and also hearing the abutters' opinions of it should help you also
just
kind of
also-
navigate your choices and decisions going forward with it would help you as well.
So would you like to continue this?
Maybe it makes sense to continue it a month, even if it's just to come back and report to us, this is how much time I'm gonna need. There's a lot of information
There's
that's
a lot
gonna
of
have.
information to be done.
Brian, as you well know, the information that we're looking for
It's a couple months.
cannot be
Yeah, it's a couple months.
done in a month.
I'm not necessarily needing to see permits from DOT, DEM if it's required. Are they gonna have to increase the water service size because you're gonna have 72 fire, plus there
All I'm
might be
saying
fire flow
is-
requirements.
For her to get a design professional in 30 days
The survey done,
is, and I know, and I do this every day. That's almost an impossibility. Right now, a surveyor is 4 months out,
Yeah.
statewide.
I got one question. Nicole, do you know if the building is sprinkled? Has a sprinkler system in it? That's gonna be, I would almost defer the way to find.
Fire
Yeah,
department.
this goes to
That'll
the
be up to
state,
the fire department, yes.
well, it goes to the state fire
Yes.
marshal, correct?
correct. I believe,
Yes.
I believe for a daycare,
Daycare, state fire marshal.
the state fire marshal looks at fire, will not be our local fire department. So we'll leave, again, anytime you approve something, you approve a condition to any permits required by any other entity. So your requirement that you need a permit is not needed. You simply say if you were going to approve it, it's approved subject to whatever state permits may be required for this particular daycare. That's how you would be approving it anyways. So you don't have to worry about whether it would be approved or not be approved, or she would have to show it. Many times, a lot of the state agencies want to see if the local board is actually going to allow this before they can go to those steps in the first place. So this is kind of our first task.
Yeah, I think as far as, you know, what I think is important to see is two-dimensionally, can they make circulation work? Can they make whatever playground size they're gonna need work? I don't need designs for drainage and all that. Like, can we make this work? It's maybe a meeting with the staff. How are we gonna resolve the landscape issues? Because the change in use is gonna kick in the landscape ordinance. I think if we get it, you know, a kind of concept plan on steroids a little bit, I think we will be in a better predicament to make an informed decision. You know, I'm being, you know, trying to help her get it to where we can be satisfied, yet be cognizant of the
Well, right at
expense and the
this
time.
juncture,
Yeah.
Brian, yes. I mean, as David said, all the other agencies will kick in, which would be part of our conditions, you know?
Yeah.
But certainly a site plan, it's gotta.
Let's see what we got in reality.
And we can take it from there. I mean, there's enough of us that here that we can work it out.
So, Ms. Lepore, if you want to come forward and decide if you want to ask this board to continue this for 1 month, they'll make a motion to continue it. You want to continue it for a month?
So, Ms. Lepore, I know one of your colleagues is wanting to push forward. What I want to remind everybody is, if we were to move forward with this tonight, I don't think it would be viewed favorably. You then have to wait a year to resubmit anything. So I think it's in your best interest, and I know you
Yes.
may have a colleague that wants to push this ahead. I think erring on the side of caution is a good thing. I don't want to see you spend money that you necessarily don't get any return on.
And if if it's going to take more than a month, you can ask for another continuance, so.
Yeah. Just come back and report to us. I've got somebody engaged. Here's the amount of time it's actually going to take. You may come back and say, I pulled the rabbit out of the hat and we're ready to go.
Okay. Very good.
Motion to continue to the June 4th meeting of the board. I guess, important is, will the 5 of us be here at June? Because we will be the 5 that would have to hear the application.
Well, only 4 of you,
Okay.
Do we need 4?
because you only need 4 for the actual vote.
4 of the original would have to be here for this.
Any second?
Okay,
Second.
all in favor of continuance?
Aye.
For June
Aye.
4th? Aye. Approved. Okay.
Just have what, public comment? And then motion to,
What was that?
we get to public comment?
New agenda item, where you're supposed to invite public to comment and only open the floor items or just anything.
Really?
Yeah, they passed that recently at the council, so that every board has the right, every person has the right. So So the town council last year, at the end of last year, I think, passed an ordinance where they want each board to have at the end of their meeting a public comment. So in case anyone from the public is here that wants to be heard on anything specific or unspecific. So that's what the public comment is. You can also, as the chairman, limit it to a period of time, 2 minutes for a public open comment.
No takers?
I do want to, just as part of the public comment, so the first agenda item relates to a project that I was involved with back in
The
2008.
first one, Nicole LeBrock?
Yep. While the applicant is not a client, I have requested an advisory opinion from the Ethics Commission whether I can participate.
The one we just heard?
No, the
Second one.
Zeno.
second one.
Yeah, why don't you wait till that's heard next month? You don't have to worry about that now.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, can I have a motion to close the meeting?
I'll make a motion that we close the meeting.
Second?
Second.
Okay, approved.